What's 9 plus 5? Stupid. Unlimited cock. I mean, colors. I need red dye. I've run out of red dye. Damn. Time to mix some. Time to mix some red dye. Make 150. How many of these can I make? Can I make 2? Yes. I can make 4. And I can then make one of them as well. Nice. Oh, hey, those all went up to 4. That's pretty good. Satisfying an artifact. Yep, let's buy them. Buy them. How much will it cost to buy all of them? Oh, I can only buy 19. So sad. I just need to wait for more money to come in. If I were a rich man. I'm almost done with that now. Reach in 2 round layouts, create 600 furnishings. I'm halfway to that. Great. Yes. Yes. Oh, nice. That's cool. But that's not gonna save you. With the full version of it. Oh. As soon as you put the voice on, it's like, yep. Nope. Achievement. Gather 40 items. Oh. 1 minute.
There we go. I was muted. That's what I thought. Because for some stupid reason, OBS decided it didn't want to fucking work. And it's like, oh, I know, I'll just try and record from an audio actor or audio thing that doesn't exist. I'm too tired for this. Alright. Sorry. How's it going, Void? Now I'm here. Now I'm unmuted because apparently it was not even recording my audio. Twitch broke? No. It was OBS. OBS is like, oh, what's that? You have a mic? Well, let me just not look for it. Well, that. Shocker. Alright, so we've actually done quite a bit over the past 2 weeks since last DevStream, although I've not done much in the past 5 days, but I also had work. So, how's everyone doing? I hope you're having a good day so far. Alright, let's start off. Good, just tired? That's good to hear. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna go and hide something real quick. Alright, there we go. Alright, so I guess we can go ahead and get started. Doing good, that's good to hear. Did I already say that? I don't remember. The last time we had kind of discussed the HUD a little bit. How we were making some changes to the HUD. Nothing has been done further with that yet. But we are still going to be working on it. It's just going to take us a little bit to get more HUD work done. So I guess to start things off with, what we can show off is a new actor that we've introduced. It's called a generic home attack actor. These enemies need to not be here. Let's move them. Let's move over here. We have what's called a generic home attack actor that can be tracked by the homing attack. And will also act as a home attack barrier. So if Sonic can track this actor anywhere he wants, or like anywhere where it's available. But if he tries to home attack it, the moment he overlaps with the actor, it will actually cancel the homing attack out. Like so. And of course you can also give it a cooldown as well. So you can decide like, hey, I want it to have a cooldown of 3 seconds, or 1 second, or 5 seconds, or whatever. But what's nice is you can give this component, or this actor, to other actors, like the pulley, or the zipline here, and you'll be able to home attack them. Because as soon as Sonic hits the thing, what it will do is it will cancel out the homing attack, so you're able to home attack objects, even if the object themselves are not what you're home attacking. You are simply just home attacking a dummy actor that exists within them. Like so. So that's a neat little thing, and it also can act as a barrier, basically preventing the home attack from passing through something if you don't want to. So it can act as essentially like an invisible wall for the homing attack if you don't, like if you put something behind it and Sonic tries to home attack it, something like whatever is behind it, it'll just cancel out the homing attack. So if I pull this out here, Say for example, and I stretched its extent out quite a bit, like so, or actually not that. 32 might be, let's make this really tall, and then we'll bump it up a little bit. So yeah, I can still track it, but I can also track what's behind it, like so. But as you can see, it has some collision for some reason. It needs to not have collision. But it can essentially act as a barrier that prevents the homing attack from passing through it if you want to. Which is like a neat little side function of it. As you probably saw a second ago, the zip lines are a lot smoother now. Like we've shown them off before in the past, but they're a lot smoother now. They function a little bit better. It properly rotates along with like the zip line, the spline curvature. So you can actually see how the thing basically sticks with the up vector of the spline. It's still not completely finished. I'm probably going to be working on this, trying getting it cleaned up a little bit more, make it function a little bit better. The animation work still won't be done for it for a little while until we can get the models replaced. Once the models have been all replaced, then the animation work for that can be done. But with this home attack actor, it basically allows you to spawn in an area that allows you to home attack. So essentially what this does is it's spawning in the actor on gameplay. Like the actor doesn't exist here. You don't put an actor out here to exist. These will automatically spawn in an actor, and it'll spawn it in at the location of this trigger box right here. So it doesn't exist before, but upon starting the game and this object spawning into the level, it will also spawn in the home attack trigger. And the exact same thing occurs with the pulley. The pulley will spawn in a home attack trigger. So it's just a neat little generic home attack trigger object that you can pull out and use in order to attach it to like another object, or just act as a blank home attack spot if you need to for whatever reason. It also kind of
I've returned.
It also kind of acts as a workaround for one of the flaws of the homing attack. A certain flaw that the homing attack has is the fact that the homing attack will track an object's root component location. So, for example, these springs right here, if you try to home attack the springs, the homing attack doesn't target any individual components. Like, it doesn't target the fan, it doesn't target the round spring part, or like the spring body. It actually targets that circle you see, because that's the location of the root component. And that's just a flaw of how the homing attack functions. There's not really a way, to my knowledge, where you're able to change the component that it looks for. But what you can do, what this generic actor allows you to do, is it allows you to spawn an actor in somewhere along an actor, another actor's location, wherever you want, and basically makes it act as a home attackable actor component that you kind of just attach to it. So
area homing attackable,
basically. To move on to the next thing, that was kind of a really small basic thing to get started with. I wanted to wait for you to get back to talk about these here, but we have improved blue cube.
Oh, did we do that since last timeline?
According to our GitHub push log, we fixed a blue cube on September 8th and 9th, and the 7th, which was a couple days after last DevStream, because last DevStream was September 6th.
I honestly thought we did it beforehand, but no, guess you're right.
So blue cube, we've mentioned it before, and if you have the colorful combat update, you've probably noticed it, but blue cube is a very broken Wisp. He did not function very well at all, but we fixed him up. He now functions a lot better. So if I were to transform him and like wait out the timer, or if I just transform multiple times, you know, and do shit, he basically doesn't break as easily as he did back then. So now
also got the new particle effect for him when he stomps.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that in a bit.
Okay.
But now I can give myself another Wisp and stuff like that, which previously we couldn't do for whatever reason. But if I transform into Cube here, he doesn't do that weird thing where if you're on the ground, he'll lift himself up and then stomp. He doesn't do that anymore. He just hits the ground where you're standing to prevent any potential flipping. But, yep, like Bree said, he does have more particle work done with him. Another thing that we did is we fixed up the camera so it actually follows his body. Stuff like that. So if you like did it up in the air and then you dropped onto the ground, blue cube wouldn't just disappear off screen, the camera wouldn't follow him. But now he does. Blue cube is a lot more functional now. He functions basically akin to what he did in Sonic Colors Ultimate. We are still planning on giving him a rework. We want to add a secondary type of blue cube that you can use. But if you still want to use the default original blue cube from Sonic Colors, you can still do that. And it works a lot better than it did previously in I+.
I'm going to look at the particles and stuff now.
Yeah, I can show off the particles.
There's a few new ones since last stream that I've been working on.
Yep. We've shown off a lot of these particles before. You can see big
Red
tail
burst
back there.
Red burst particle's been changed. It's been updated now.
Yep.
So it's using a new fire effect.
We've shown off orange rocket. We've shown off yellow drill and hover.
Hover, yeah, they're all the same. Sign laser had a slight tweak to the ring, so it's a bit smaller.
Yep.
Indigo asteroid has got this new mist effect around it. It's meant to follow the Saturn ring around, but just in that demonstration thing, it doesn't. But when you actually use them, when you actually use the whip,
it'll transform. It'll follow them around.
And it's planned to have these squares in the Saturn ring around. We're going to be changing those to a particle as well, so we do some fun stuff with that.
Yep.
But
Grey Quake is still broken. We've not done anything new with spikes, although I don't think there's not much we have to do with spikes. There might be like one or two visual tweaks we'll have to make, but other than that, spikes is pretty good. So is most of these original color wisps are pretty good.
Yeah, Frenzy still needs quite a bit of particle work. It needs updating quite a bit.
And we're gonna completely get rid of Void's static mesh. Currently, Void has a static mesh.
Yeah, it's going to be a complete
particle.
A complete particle later on. Ivory Lightning. I can't remember if that was shown off last time or not, but there it is anyway. It's got like, I think it looks pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah, I like how Lightning looks. Lightning. I know we've shown off Black Bomb before because we had mentioned how we've changed the materials for a lot of the wisps so they look a little bit better. And to showcase how to do it incorrectly, we showed Black Bomb, and Black Bomb used to look terrible because even though we changed it, we didn't change any of the defaults for Black Bomb, so Black Bomb kind of had all the default look of the new style. And
it had
we did
it very grayed out. The colors were just like very gray.
Yep.
I guess you could say.
But now Black Bomb looks a lot better. It's a lot less shiny.
bit more matte.
Yep. He's got a lot of a darker black to him.
Need to make a particle for the fuse. I need to try and see if there's a way to make the fuse kind of like flop, I guess, or something, but I think that wouldn't really work with physics.
Yeah, I don't know if that would work, because...
I might just permanently have it like in a bit of a curve or something, just so it's not directly up.
If anything, I don't know how it would work, because technically Black Bomb's static mesh is being set to a physics body. But the thing is I don't know if you can set a skeletal mesh to be a physics body. If we could, what we could do is
It is a skeletal mesh.
Oh, if it's a skeletal mesh, we can simply just set its fuse bone to be a spring bone.
Yeah, it's just mainly when you're rolling around and stuff, it may like stretch or look really weird.
Yeah, I mean, you can set the properties. You can set the properties of a spring bone to make it less stretchy and stuff. But
I'll mess around with it if we do that. But like I said, I don't think it will work as much.
Rhythm has not had any changes to it, although in terms of materials, I don't think we will be making too many changes. I think Rhythm looks pretty alright how it is.
Maybe... I don't know, because when you look at it, magenta looks more pink, and pink looks more magenta to me.
Yeah, but this is also how Pink Spike looked in Colors and Colors Ultimate.
But it just to me it looks backwards. So I may make magenta a bit darker.
Yeah. The thing is magenta looks salmon, is what it is. It's like a very pasty white pink.
Salmon. Well, yeah.
It's salmon. It's obviously salmon.
If you look at like the magenta wisp, like the actual wisp itself, doesn't it look darker?
A little bit, yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Not too much darker, just a little bit.
I'll tweak the colors a little bit because I think it just is a bit too pink. But it's not a problem. I do have plans for particle works for magenta rhythm later on as well. So
now the second big wisp that we are going to show off is Crimson Eagle, because we finally got around to reworking him. I mentioned it multiple times before, but we were going to rework Crimson Eagle a little bit. And not only has Crimson Eagle had a mechanical rework, but Crimson Eagle also has had a visual rework slightly.
Some particles. There is one particle missing that I need to work on, which is like a spin for when you do the air dodge, but it looks pretty nice. It's kind of satisfying.
So Crimson Eagle will now follow your camera's forward vector, rather than you pressing like A to pitch upward and B to pitch downward, or jump to pitch up and crouch to pitch down. Instead, what Crimson Eagle does is it will follow the forward vector of your camera. Currently, it's not clamped. We got to add a clamp to it, so that way you can't just pitch straight up and straight down, because that would be a little broken. But this is kind of how we originally envisioned Eagle when we were doing Clean Eagle. But this is how Eagle will work. Because the idea is Eagle is mostly going to be meant for horizontal travel, while other wisps like Rocket and Hover are more meant for vertical travel. So Hover is kind of, you gotta clamp Eagle so that way it's not so broken.
Rocket is vertical, and then Hover is kind of just like all over the place.
Yeah,
just not very good with horizontal.
But Crimson Eagle also got the little trails going on, which Bree's working on. They look really cool. However, real quick, since we don't get questions about it later, Crimson Eagle does work differently in 2D segments because you don't have manual control of the camera in 2D. He works in 2D like he always had, where you press the jump button to pitch upward. And that was weird. You press the jump button to pitch upward, and you press the crouch button to pitch downward. And you can like steer left and right and stuff like that, so Crimson Eagle works in 2D exactly how he used to. He's not been reworked in 2D sections.
Yeah, contrail looked pretty cool in 2D. I never actually tested it. Yeah. I like to do it in
One thing that doesn't quite work, and this doesn't work for most Wisps, is they don't automatically orientate themselves to 2D sections like this along the spline. You have to actually manually go right or left, but that's something we'll eventually work out. So, yep, that is Crimson Eagle. Crimson Eagle is looking a lot better now, and functions a lot better now as well. I think Crimson Eagle is a little bit less jank.
Also, Ivory Lightning is kind of broken in the Colorful Combat, if I remember correctly, because we didn't fix the enemy problem.
Yeah, there is one problem that the Wisps have. Whenever I say the Wisps, I mainly mean Ivory Lightning and Pink Spike. I don't remember.
Pink Spike homing attack? I can't remember.
Yeah, Pink Spike has a homing attack.
Okay.
Pink Spike and Ivory Lightning have the ability to home attack enemies, but it was kind of broken in Colorful Combat, but they work now. There was an interaction missing with the enemies. The enemies were not looking for Wisps. Like, we forgot to tell the enemies, like, hey, if you're home attacked by something, check to see if it's a Wisp, and if so, then go ahead and do it. You know, and like play the destroy code or return the hit to the bound event and stuff like that. Kind of forgot to do that, but now it does do that, and now Pink Spike and Ivory Lightning can home attack enemies with them.
So Ivory Lightning kind of functions properly now. Like, that's kind of the one thing that's missing from this is when you homing attack with Ivory Lightning, it's meant to like do an electrical effect to, yeah, like nearby enemies. So like, so if you homing attack one, you'll damage free if they're standing close by.
Yeah, that's the one benefit that Lightning has over Pink Spike in terms of combat. I think Pink Spike does slightly more damage with its homing attack than
I could imagine it would, because it's like spikes.
Yeah, so like if the basic homing attack does 1 damage, I think Pink Spike's homing attack does 3 or 4 damage, and I believe Ivory Lightning's does 2. But Ivory Lightning also has an AoE that fires whenever you do a homing attack. So if you home attack an enemy and there's nearby enemies, it also deals a tick of damage to those nearby enemies. I think I need to buff it so that way it has a wider radius, because it's pretty short, and at that point in time, the AoE doesn't actually help with anything.
Yes.
So that's what... that is almost everything for the Wisps, except for Jade Ghost. How's it going, Jay? I'm gonna try what I missed. We can go over things that you missed here in a second. We have begun, just to keep in mind, if you've played, obviously, the Colorful Combat update and you mess around with Jade Ghost, you'll know that, you know, Jade Ghost turns Sonic invisible and he can pass through specific Jade Ghost blocks and stuff like that. That still functions, that still exists in the framework. We're not getting rid of that. That is original I+ concepts for Jade Ghost.
Not steal.
Do not steal. Donut steal. But since Color's Ultimate released, we wanted to give Jade Ghost an alternative version, and I have since keep in mind we don't have a model for this yet, but I have since reworked Jade Ghost so that way it functions a little bit more like it does in Sonic Colors Ultimate. So if we transform, you will see that you're going to be able to float around freely like you would in Sonic Colors Ultimate. And similarly to Crimson Eagle, Jade Ghost will follow your camera around in 3D. I don't have 2D interaction set up just yet, but whenever I do, it'll work basically the same way as Ultimate, where like you press up, you'll fly up, you press down, you'll fly down, left, right, stuff like that. You'll basically just have free 360 rotation movement in 2D. But one additional benefit, and we actually had to change the homing attack to get this to function, but Jade Ghost can actually home attack through walls, both in 2D and in 3D. And another neat feature about Jade Ghost that we decided to include is Jade Ghost in Wisp form can pass through any Wisp object, period. So it doesn't matter what type of Wisp object it is, whether it's like the cyan prisms, those frenzy pillars or whatever, or even these blue cube rings, Jade Ghost can just pass right through them. Because we thought it would be interesting to, you know, expand on Jade Ghost's ghostly abilities, while not necessarily making Ghost absolutely broken, but still giving Jade Ghost more of an application besides, oh, you can home attack through walls, you know. So Jade Ghost has the functionality of basically passing through and ignoring any Wisp object that would otherwise obstruct your path and or require a specific Wisp to interact with.
In 3D, using Jade Ghost could actually be kind of cool, because like in these big boxy areas or something, you could have like a hollow inside of them, and the only way you would figure that out is if you had Jade Ghost nearby. That'd be really good.
So, we still have
2 minutes, sorry, I've got to go get something.
You're fine. We still have Legacy Jade Ghost. If you want to change Jade Ghost to be how it was originally, with the Colorful Combat update, all you got to do is you got to open up the master character. And let's see here. Where is it? Here we go. Ultimate Jade. Just turn this off and compile. Whenever it compiles, it can take a moment to compile, because the master character blueprint is pretty chunky. And now whenever you transform into Jade Ghost, it'll be vanilla Jade Ghost. We have it so that enemies can see you for some reason, but they can't interact with you and they can't attack you. So, and you also just pass right through enemies. So it's the same thing as vanilla, or not vanilla, original Infinity Plus Jade Ghost functionality. So if you prefer this version over the Colors Ultimate Jade Ghost, you can do that. You can still pass through the Jade Ghost objects like so with it active. With it inactive, you can't pass right through it, so. If you prefer the original Infinity Plus Jade Ghost, you can do that. If you like the Colors Ultimate version of Jade Ghost, you just gotta turn this boolean on, and then bam, you get Colors Ultimate Jade Ghost. Something that might be good for Jade Ghost is making things that you can home attack visible through walls. That would be interesting. Maybe with Jade Ghost, with Jade Ghost active, Jade Ghost could probably have something that can do that. Because if I remember right, there is a volume that you can use that, when triggered, will cause a material to be drawn on top of other materials that we could probably just attach to Jade Ghost. Be like, hey, you're Jade Ghost now, and you can see these objects if they're behind a wall. That would be pretty interesting, and it would probably be pretty useful. So we'll have to we'll have to take that into account. That's a good idea. To show off what you missed, Jay, we now have a generic home attack actor. It's basically an empty actor that doesn't do anything except act as a target for home attacking, and if Sonic overlaps with said actor while home attacking, it'll cancel the homing attack. The reason I created this is because a major flaw of the homing attack is the fact that you can't attack specific components of an actor. Whenever the home attack tracks a target, it looks for the root scene, and the root scene is that little white sphere of an actor. So whenever you see Sonic like home attack the springs, it's not the spring he's locked onto or the mesh or any specific component of the mesh, it's actually that little white sphere right there. That is an actor's root scene component, and because of that, it made it difficult to create a home attack thing for things like this here, the the zipline and the pulley, because their root components are up here and like right here. So it's like, well, can't really create a home attack component that Sonic can home attack through to, because it looks for an actor's root component. So what these things do, and what you can do with this generic home attack actor, is in the blueprint of an actor, you can tell it to spawn in. Let's take care of that real quick. I do not wish to become famous. I have taken much consideration into it, and I have decided not to. Alright, so as you can see, Sonic is able to home attack the zipline and the pulley now, because the zipline and the pulley dynamically spawn in the generic home attack actor. And because it's just a generic home attack actor, that when it overlaps, it cancels out the homing attack. As long as you place or tell it to spawn the home attack actor in at the right spot, the home attack will automatically cancel upon overlap with it, meaning you can basically use it to add the ability to home attack things to actors and stuff like that dynamically wherever you want. So this here is the actor right here, and another neat little feature is technically the home attack actor does not care if Sonic is trying to home attack it. So what you can do is you can technically use it like as an invisible wall. If I put this here, and let's like bring it a little bit closer. Like, yeah, I can track it, but I can also track things behind it. But if I try to home attack something behind it, no, I think it's a little too close. Let's pull it back a little bit. If I try to home attack something behind it, ideally when Sonic overlaps with it, Sonic should stop the homing attack. So as you can see, he just stopped the homing attack right there. Just like that. Although for some reason it has some kind of collision when it's not supposed to, so we're probably gonna have to I'll have to look at that later. So that's mostly all the things that you had missed from earlier, Jay. Then we discussed blue cube. Blue cube functions a little bit better. We kind of went over the particles. I don't remember if you were there when we went over the particles, and we went over Crimson Eagle. We reworked Crimson Eagle a little bit. Eagle! Crimson Eagle has been reworked so that he follows the camera now instead of pitching up and down by button inputs. And we gave him a little trail. But Crimson Eagle still works in 2D the way he did earlier, so he's not going to be broken in 2D or anything. So that's most of everything that we kind of went over. And blue cube. Blue cube functions a lot better now. Dang, that guy sniped me. Move over blue cube here. You'll see the blue cube functions a lot better. We altered his texture a little bit, so it's a little bit more clear as well. Gave him new particles. He doesn't try to do that weird thing where if you're on the ground, he moves you up before stopping, so just stop in place. If I also transform with blue cube and I run out of time with blue cube won't he won't try to like prevent you from getting more wisps, or he won't there's a weird teleport glitch where like if you transform somewhat before you like go into cube mode before you lose energy and detransform, like it will teleport Sonic around for some reason. That's kind of been fixed up as well. And if you saw earlier whenever I jumped off the top of that and fell down, the camera will also properly track Blue Cube, which it did not do before, except for the very first time. The first time you used Blue Cube, it would track Blue Cube, but not anymore for now. To move on to something else new, the splines have been slightly improved. They run a little bit more smoother now. They have less problems keeping a hold of Sonic. They're a little bit more efficient. They don't take up as much resources to use now. So the splines that pull Sonic around and stuff like that. The cart spline here, this one here, the one that moves Sonic along automatically, it now has a couple more functionality. A little bit more functionality. Cart splines now have what's called a minimum speed, as well as basically a cruise control mode, where whenever you overlap with one, it'll try to move you at the minimum speed, which is the speed that you can set. But what you can do is, if like it's got its cruise control mode on, you can actually accelerate faster. Like you can try to accelerate faster than what the cart spline has. Let me go. Or not. Fine, I'll go around. Another neat little feature that the cart splines have is the fact that it will also, or not just the cart spline, but pretty much any spline can also try and pull you up walls and stuff like that. So with the cart spline, if you want it, it can pull you across the wall, as long as the spline properly, like, you know, transitions along a curvature or something like that. It can do it without the curvature. For example, if I went over here, you can see that there's a spline right here. If I simply just enter into the collision, Sonic will automatically snap to the wall like that. So if you want to add like an instant wall running section, you can do so. That's like a really, really tiny cart spline that holds onto Sonic for a split second, attaches him to the wall, and causes him to run along. So you can do something like that with it. But if you want something more along like this, you got to make sure you know it has a proper smooth transition with the spline and the curvature. But with this here, like I was mentioning with cruise control, I think this one has active, but there's a minimum speed that this thing forces you to go across. So if I look at the speed here, like this thing pushes me along at around 3,000, roughly, 3,000 units a second. But if I hold forward, I should be able to accelerate. Yeah, as you can see, I'm actually accelerating, moving a little bit faster. And I think if I boost, it will also move even faster then. Yeah. So there is a minimum speed that it tries to force you along, but you can also tell cart splines to be like, hey, if the character tries to go faster, allow them to. And that's a state that you can put them in, or a mode that you can give them. Be like, hey, if you want, allow the player to move faster if they try to, or if you prefer the character only move at one speed, you can set it to do so. That way, if you don't want them to try and speed up faster than they're supposed to, they won't. So like fix card speed, I think, is that it? Fixes player speed and spline. Maximum possible speed and minimum possible speed, things like that. Emmanuel worked on it, and I told him we were streaming today, but I guess it's just busy, and or it's just not going to show up. I don't know. But that is some new features. These also just run more smoothly in general. It's a lot less jittery. It's a lot less like pulling and snagging. It's kind of a lot more of a smooth transition across the spline length, things like that. If you want to disguise a snap to the speed, you can add a little particle effect into sound. We could, but that's more of like an individual kind of you customize it however you want kind of thing, more so than us. Also, how's it going, Fabio? Hope you're having a good day. But yeah, that's kind of just a neat little new feature with it. The cart splines function a little bit nicer. They're a little bit smoother, and they have some additional functionality to them now.
I am back. Wow, of course, when I'm gone, freaking bots show up.
Yep, every time. I went over the cart spline, some spline improvement stuff.
Nice. Yeah, that vertical spline stuff is really cool.
Yep. And like I mentioned earlier, if you jump and or launch Sonic into a cart spline that's already like attached to a wall, like this here, it'll just attach him to it for you. And you can do like an auto run section like you would see like in a boost tile or something. Like in
Generations. Unleashed.
yeah, and Unleashed. Did I say Unleashed? I thought I said Unleashed.
I didn't even hear you say anything.
That sounds like a you problem. But yeah, you can do like an auto running section like an Unleashed. I'm forgetting the level. It's the sand level. I don't remember. There's a couple of sections in Unleashed where Sonic gets launched into a wall and he just starts running along it without any like proper, rotation or anything like that. But
also about the whole making homing attack stuff visible through walls. I know how to do that. I can easily get that set up because I figured out. I did it for Yellow Drill, but you can't actually see it because of the 2D section. But there is a mode now where the camera will highlight objects.
Is that activated by a trigger box or something?
Nope. Right now it's just activated when you hit the dirt blueprint for Yellow Drill. It turns on something in the camera, like it turns on vision mode or something, like drill vision I called it. And it just highlights objects. But obviously, because you're in the 2D section, you're not using the normal camera, it doesn't work. But I can assure you it worked before when I was testing.
But
so I can easily migrate that for Jake Ghost to only highlight stuff that it's like locked on to homing attack.
Well, it should highlight anything that you can see behind a wall. Like I think it needs to be within a radius.
Yeah.
Like, if you're within like a radius of this object and you can home attack it, it will.
Easy.
Does drill go underground in 2D sections? Yes, it does.
Indeed.
I would show it to you, but currently the 2D sections are broken, and Emmanuel seems to refuse to acknowledge the fact that they're broken for some reason. I'm like, hey, they're broken. He's like, they should be. And I'm like, they are. And he just hasn't looked at them. But
have you showed off the grind rails? What you've done there?
Oh, that's another thing we can show off. You're right.
Yeah, I just remembered.
So, grind rail boosters. These are something that we have been wanting to add for a little while, and we've kind of just been lazy and haven't added them yet. But the other day, Emmanuel sent a message in the meeting chat like, hey, let's not forget, at some point in time, before, we release this at some point in time, we got to actually add grind rail boosters. And I said, okay, and then proceeded to just do all of the work for the grind rail boosters literally like an hour later.
Yeah, an hour later, you're just like, done.
It's done now. So the grind rail boosters are not 100% finished. They're like, I would argue,
the model is something I have to work on soon. Just fix up some of the UVs is all, but that's a minor thing.
They're like 85% finished. So they're practically nearly done.
They're functional.
So the neat thing about the rail grind boosters is
oh my god, who the hell cares?
Oh, there's Emmanuel.
Emmanuel has finally shown himself.
As I was saying with the rail grind boosters, we have the rail grind booster actor right here, obviously, that you can pull out. But I was sitting here thinking, like, pulling these out and trying to align them with the grind rail kind of sounds like a bitch of a thing to do. So what I decided to do is, if you want to add a grind rail booster to a grind rail, all you have to do is select the grind rail actor you want to add the booster to, scroll down, hit spawn grind rail booster. And what that will do is it will obviously spawn a grind rail booster right in its position that you can then select. And by changing this variable right here, rail spline location, it will actually slide the rail grind booster along their grind rail.
It's really interesting how this has been done. Like, I was actually kind of amazed at how you got this done like almost immediately.
Yep.
Yeah, like you did it quickly, and like you did it the way I would have done it too. So obviously I like it.
Of course, you did it the way I would do it. So,
I mean, I would
Paul,
say
you
even
can
better.
use it.
The grind rail, obviously, since or the booster, since it's attached to the grind rail, whenever you move it, it will actually rotate along the corners of a grind rail spline, as well as up inclines and down inclines and stuff like that. So as you move a grind rail up, if you want to attach it like here, you can do so. You can also set a offset, which is just visual. Obviously, the actor has a physical offset. If it's too high, the actor can't, you know, or whatever it is, like Sonic or whatever, they can't hit it at that point. But if you want to do that, you can. But what's also really neat, let's set this back to 0, is, why did your rotation change? Oh, you'll probably have to try and move it before its rotation will change again. If you sit here and you spawn in a rail grind booster and you go, oh, I didn't want it on this one, I selected the wrong one, rather than having to delete it and then reselecting the new one and all that stuff and spawning it, all you have to do is select the grind rail booster, go down to this grind rail parent, hit the eyedropper, and then select the grind rail that you want it to be parented to, and then bam, it'll automatically move over to the next grind rail. Because the idea is the grind rail booster, whenever you hit this here, plays a function that will spawn in the grind rail booster and then pass that grind rail into the grind rail booster as a parent variable that the grind rail booster will then use as a reference to base its location and rotation, height, offset, and all that stuff. And if you don't want to use that function, you don't have to. Like I said, you could technically pull out a grind rail booster, and if you wanted to, you could just parent it like so. That way you don't have to select the grind rail booster if you don't want to, or the grind rail in order to spawn in a booster if you don't want to. It's like, there's a lot of different and simple and easy ways that you can do it. But obviously, once a grind rail booster has been attached to a grind rail, you can't move it. If you try to move it, it'll just automatically reset itself back to wherever it was set at. But if you don't have a parent, a grind rail parent, you can move it however you want freely, because there's nothing to set its location. And you can also tell it to be independent. If you have this independent variable on, it will actually act as a booster, like a basic booster, kind of like the, you know, it'll basically act like a dash panel, essentially. If you have this independent variable ticked on, it will just boost Sonic in a direction that it's facing or whatever. I think in actuality what it will do is it will just boost Sonic in whatever direction he is facing by default. Ah, shit, it's too high. So if I lower it a little bit and then try and overlap with it, I think it'll just boost Sonic in a direction. Yeah, it doesn't work very well if it's not attached to a grind rail. But you could technically do that. If you want the grind rail to face an opposite direction, all you got to do is hit reverse rotation, and bam, it'll just face in its opposite direction. You can also tell it to force the player to rotate along its rotation. So if you wanted to have 2 grind rail boosters, one facing one way and one facing another way, you can do that. And basically just create one of those infinite spring things, but with rail grind boosters. So now they're facing in 2 different directions. It won't work because currently right now the rotation code doesn't properly work. It's one of the few things about this that doesn't quite function as intended. But once that is working, that's how that'll function. If you don't want it to force Sonic's rotation, you can simply turn a variable off and it will prevent that from happening. But as you can see, currently it does set Sonic's rotation to be aligned with the rotation of the booster. But if I set reverse rotation, I don't think it will do that. I think it'll just continue boosting me in that same direction, which is the problem it has. Yeah. So if I went back here. Yep. So it doesn't quite work, but it's pretty close. And if I turn this rotate player, it won't try to force the rotation. It'll simply just boost the player in whatever direction they're facing, I believe. Yep. so that's the Rail Grind booster. Like Reese was mentioning earlier, the model needs to be updated and fixed. It's not quite there yet. But as soon as Reese does that, and the materials have been touched up and stuff like that, there's like 1 or 2 bugs that need to be cleaned out, fixed up with it. But other than that, the Rail Grind booster is pretty good.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. It took no time at all on the business part. Pretty impressed.
It took me like an hour and a half to do it.
Yeah, like that's pretty good. Honestly, it will probably take longer. Is doing some visual stuff like updating model and some particle work to it,
fixing up its bugs. But I think a lot of its bugs should like the bug work. Unless we discover more bugs, the bug fixes should only take like maybe an hour or 2. It shouldn't take Reese too long to fix up the model. I don't think it's a pretty simple model.
Question. You may have said this earlier, but does the rail grind booster do anything if you're not attached to a rail grinder? Like if you just took one and placed it in the wall you ran into, would it do anything?
It does technically launch Sonic. I have a variable in place called independent. If you have that on, it's supposed to not look for a rail grind parent like this rail grind parent variable. If the is independent boolean is ticked on, it's supposed to just ignore any checks for a grind rail parent or rail grind parent. And it does technically launch you, but as you can see, the launch is not quite correct. But it can work. It's just got to have some minor fixes to it. But yeah, it doesn't technically have to have a grind rail parent for it to function.
Okay, that should be hard to fix up then.
Yeah.
Nor should it have to be work completely, 1%, because it's just a little edge case where you can use it, but it's not intended to work that way. So it's not important for it to work like uber well,
Yeah, it's like a neat little thing, but you're like, why? If you wanted to change a character's direction, just use the dash panel or something like that,
Yeah, or a dash ring or something.
Yeah. I went over the generic home attack actor and how we added it to the pulley and the zip line.
All right.
We went over the fact that Blue Cube has been fixed up and functions a lot better. We went over Crimson Eagle's mechanical rework. We went over Jade Ghost's new mode, as well as talked and discussed a little bit about the particles and the material work of the currently existing wisps, such as Ivory Lightning and Black Bomb. Also, we mentioned how Pink Spike and Ivory Lightning can properly home attack enemies now without trying to kill themselves.
Yeah,
but
small little oversight on my part.
Yeah, those work now. I did mention some of the features of your new spline system. Or not new spline system, but like the touched up and slightly reworked cart spline, how it basically has like a cruise control mode where there's a minimum speed it sets you, but if you have it, was it like a certain variable you turn on, it will allow you to accelerate as much as you want, but it will cap your deceleration.
Yeah, essentially. Like I can't see it because Fizz is in the way. God damn him. But
let me move Fizz real quick.
Oh, there goes that cat again.
Wait, hold on. Streamer has to catch up. Nice. All right. So, yeah, if you click... I could just do it on my screen, I guess. But if you click on the spline, you go to the cart section, because there's multiple sections for different modes. You'll see a number of settings. One of them will be maintain control above min speed. What that means is that if you and we'll explain the minimum speed thing later. If you are above whatever minimum speed you set when you hit the spline, or at any point during spline, you will have essentially normal controls, kind of like you're in a lock, red spline.
Yeah, like one of the ones over there.
Yeah, so you'll still be locked to the plane, but you pretty much have full control over your movement along the spline. But if you go below that speed, you'll start getting pushed along at that minimum speed. And then this was before colorful combat, but I'll explain it again. How the speed works is that if you have fixed cart speed ticked on, you can then set the fixed cart speed variable, and that's like that speed never changes. So if you set at 3500, that's your minimum speed. So in this case, if you have maintain control above min speed, if you fall below 3500 at any point, it will start pushing you along at that speed. Now, if you turn that,
we should just label that as cruise control.
probably, honestly,
it's like, because that's what it is. It's cruise control. You can accelerate beyond it, but once you try to drop below a certain threshold, it just pushes you along.
I'm just going to rename it right now. But anyway, if you take off fixed controls cart speed, how it works is that you have a minimum and a maximum speed for when you enter the spline. So if you enter the spline, what's the numbers for you right now? Like 4,000 to 1,500?
1,500, yep.
Yeah. So if you enter the spline at, let's say, 2,000, it will bring you back up to 4,000. That's now your new minimum speed. But if you're, say, at like 7,000 when you enter the spline, that is now your minimum speed, 7,000. So it kind of like...
It just picks up whatever speed that you entered in and makes that to your minimum speed as you move along the spline. Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. I'm sure eventually when we make documentation, I'll explain it better. But that's how it works, if you can somehow parse how I said it. But yeah. It's also way smooth. I'm not sure if you showed up, but it's also way smoother because I changed the algorithm of how it moves you along. And it can also stick you to walls now, too.
Yeah,
and keep you on them.
I had went over that and mentioned it. It is pretty cool. I do really like how... one, I like how much smoother it is, because it used to be super jittery. It used to be like the worst spline function that we had, because it was so jittery, it didn't properly move you along it. It felt like an actual cart. Now this feels like a spline that pushes you along versus like a literal cart. The old version of the cart spline felt like it basically just felt like it literally picked up Sonic and moved him along the spline at a set speed.
That's what it literally did. It just took your location and interrupted you.
Yeah.
But now it's entered your velocity instead, which is smoother.
Yep. So, and I even went over the fact that, you know, if you have one attached and orientated to a wall, it'll automatically snap Sonic to it, and then you can run along the wall and stuff.
Yeah.
And I also mentioned how the other splines are more optimal now. Like, they just run better slightly.
Yeah, more so what you can do is you have that new button called config spline, which just makes it so if you choose a spline setting, like say lock, cart, nudge, whatever, I meant to touch on the settings, but what it's supposed to do is that it's supposed to automatically put in like the best, what I think at least, are the best settings to get you started.
So was it test spline, or what are these called?
Just any of the splines. Yeah, spline path. Spline path.
Is that under new objects, or spline path? All right. Nope, that's path spline. We need to rename that.
Yeah. Maybe spline road for the ones that are walkable.
Yeah.
Also, after the stream work, maybe during, I could talk about something I'm trying to also do that's somewhat related to splines.
Yeah, whatever. Ideally, like, these here have a button that you can press. It's like config spline, and depending on what this variable is set to, like this cart spline, what it will do is if you click this, it will automatically set all of the variables that you see in this list. It will automatically set them to a new default based on which mode that you set. That basically is like, hey, if you're going to use this spline, here's a good default. Here's all the default settings we would put these variables under to get you started that we think are like the ideal settings to use them under. But obviously you can change them from there. They're not like stuck to those variables or whatever. You can change them however you want, but the idea is like, here's a quick default for you.
Yeah, that way you don't have to go around and like have to know what you have to change every single time you want to use a different spline. Oh yeah, the interface thing you were trying to implement too.
The interface thing?
You put in an interface, you said. It's not fully implemented, but
we're gonna implement a system to allow splines to communicate with each other, so it's easier to transfer from one spline to another and cancel out splines, which can be called from actors and stuff like that. So if we had like So, like for example, there's this 2D spline right here. This here's a spline. It's a 2D section. Say we wanted to include a spring like right here, but the spring would launch Sonic outside of the spline. We would need to tell the spline, hey, stop trying to track the player now. Just quit it. But
what if as well with that, just asking like hypothetical question, would we be able to make it so you could have diverging 2D paths?
Yes.
Do that.
A system like that would make diverging 2D paths easier. I don't know if it would make it like super simple, but it would be easier than it is currently.
Yeah, you know what I mean with that. Like obviously, you go along the lower route and you just stick to the same 2D path, but if you go on the upper route, it turns right or something, and then you
in a different 2D path or something.
A different area. Yeah.
It would make things like that easier.
Yeah, one thing you could do is probably just, what we're probably going to do is make so that you can make it so that if you enter another spline, it uses the interface to tell the other spline to turn off. In that case, all you have to do is just make so that at some point you enter a spline and that sets you on that new path. The only problem then is then like going backwards, like making sure that still works properly and see if you can enter this old spline from a new spline and all that kind of stuff.
Making it a two-way communication would not be difficult. I mean, it by default kind of... Especially considering we're telling a spline to talk with itself using an interface. Like, we're telling one spline actor to talk to another spline actor, but since they're both spline actors, it's like different instances of itself. By default, that automatically kind of makes the interface system a two-way street.
They all have the same variables inside of them and stuff, so it's easier to...
They would all have the same variables, and they would all have the same function calls, so making that a two-way street would be pretty easy, because I think it's just going to be like that by default. Getting it to not do that would be the harder part. Getting it to be like, no, this is a one-way spline, you can't go back to the other one, that would be the hard part. In theory, based on how I think we would set it up, but we got to get to that point first.
Just making it robust, as always, is the harder part, but it can be done.
Yeah. But yeah, the splines are looking pretty good. Emmanuel is touching them up, trying to get them a little bit better, a little bit more efficient, and adding some functionality to them. And the functionality that has been added so far is working really nice, and the functionality we've got planned in the future, in the future, is even nicer, and will make using splines, I wouldn't say integral, but if you want to make like a really nice like Generations or Unleashed level quality stage, I think the splines would be necessary, and the more features and flexibility we add to the splines, the better.
Another thing that you would also use the splines for is like making quick step sections.
Yeah.
So like that's something we need to try and get working with the spline.
Yeah.
So you can like just have, you know, a line of splines up against each other, and if you press the quick step button, you just transition to the next spline.
Yeah, that's the thing I'll do. Actually, that it does remind me. There was a question I was going to ask, which is, at some point, do you think maybe I should just blend the card and lock spline so they're one spline, and you just turn on and off that functionality? Because that's actually very similar, and I can see cases where, you know, for instance, you may want a 2D section, but it pushes you along automatically.
Yeah. I don't know the answer to that one. I'll have to think about it, and we'll have to go over and talk about it. I don't have an answer for that right now. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any. Like off the top of my head, I can't really think of a reason why, but I feel like it's something we should look into more before we're just like, oh yeah, sure, let's do that. But I see what you're saying. I think, like I said, off the top of my head, I don't see an issue with it, but maybe there might be. Who knows? But to move on from the splines, we've pretty much talked about most of everything except for one thing.
The thing.
The thing. Well, actually, there is something else I added, but it's...
I don't have any idea what you're on about, but yeah, the thing.
There's actually two things, but one of them we're not going to talk about at all, because one, it's super, super early in its development, and two, it's not really a major feature or anything, it's just for funsies. Emmanuel might know what I'm talking about.
I don't know.
Actually, I may be lost on this too, but...
If I say one word, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Got it.
Metroid.
Oh, man.
See, Emmanuel got it.
We're adding in missiles, boys.
We're getting super missiles. We're gonna add energy tanks. You collect one, and
Energy.
Sonic gets a tank of 100 rings, and he can refill.
Guys, everyone is here.
And we're adding Samus to Infinity Plus.
Yes.
We're adding Wallace.
Yeah.
We're adding Wallace.
Oh,
and
that's
Gromit.
good. Boss Baby is in, boys.
We're just gonna make like an April Fool's trailer next year or something where we just keep getting like random freaking models from Model Resource and just recreate the Smash Bros.
Ronald McDonald ain't clowning around.
Richard Nixon is running in.
Thomas the Tank Engine is on time.
Time to say your prayers. Time to say your prayers because Jesus is in the house.
Carl ain't feeling so good. Carl Weezer.
Omni-Man cheeks is weird or something. I don't know.
Omni-Man's cheeking it up.
Solid Steak is too dummy.
Let's go, Missiles. You touch a shield capsule and time stops and the Metroid item jingle play.
Dude.
Every item, every time you hit an item, it's you get the flame shield.
You collect the ring.
Oh god, it's like almost
It's like shell.
God, you make me want to add that in now, actually. God damn it.
Almost shell mode.
Yeah, I think I would do that as a joke, like for an April Fool's ring.
You collected a ring. You collected a ring. You collected a... That's a deuce panel. You just moved the camera 1 degree to the right. That is an enemy.
You did a boost.
Oh god.
Keep holding the button. You just jumped.
Oh, that would be kind of like a weird challenge as well. Like it only happens when you first press the button, so that like incents you to just like, no, please, never let go of the button. Don't speak ever again.
Don't stop it. All right, so there's one last thing. We showed it off on Twitter. So if you've seen
Twitter.com,
if you're keeping up with our Twitter, you know what we're talking about. But
we added big booty Judies.
Thank you, Reese, for the big booty Judy.
We have warp rings.
Yeah.
All right, calm down there, Rick.
Yeah, they are neat. Because it was something I initially added right after the movie came out, but then I just did nothing with them.
If I remember right, like we watched the Sonic movie, and I'm like, "Hey, we should add the warp rings from the Sonic movie," and you're like, "Yeah," and then you added them in, and then we proceeded to do absolutely nothing with it.
Yeah.
For like a year.
That'd be interesting to do. So I coded very basic. Well, actually, I didn't even code.
You just made the model.
Yeah. We created the actor and we slapped it in there. And technically it's in the Colorful Combat update. If you look for it, it exists there.
It just has no code attached to it.
Yeah, it just doesn't do anything. But and this was actually before the Colorful Combat update. We did this back with 3 and Knuckles came out.
Yeah, it was 3 and Knuckles content that just never got utilized because that's like obviously when the movie came out.
Yeah.
Obviously, God.
But the warp rings are something that I've been wanting to work on for a very long time, but I just felt like I didn't have the capability of doing so. But after learning a lot more about how Unreal works and physics and object interactions and shit like that.
Now you can explode instantly.
Yep. Now we have portals, essentially.
Now we're thinking with balls.
Yeah. And these do essentially act as portals would. You run through them, and you retain all speed that you had before entering them and stuff like that. Like so. They do have a couple of settings. They're not completely finished, but they are a lot more finished than they were before. What you can do, you can tell them to rotate the actor, which whenever you rotate the actor, it will rotate the actor along this red arrow. We're probably going to add an option to like inverse the rotation or something like that. Or what we'll probably end up doing, and it's going to take a little bit of work, is we're probably going to make a mode where it will set it so that like whatever the forward actor of one like you enter a ring relative to what side. For example, if I entered this ring down here from the back side, which is this side here, if I entered from the back side of this ring, it would shoot me out of the back side of this ring. So I would exit in the opposite direction of the arrow. Those are some settings we're planning on including with it that we've not done yet. But that's one. Currently, right now, you can tell it to force rotation, meaning no matter which side that you enter from, the exit side will spit you out on the side of the arrow. But this is also per instance of the warp ring. So you saw I changed that variable in that ring. Whenever I enter through here, you see it spit me out in whatever direction I was moving before then. But if I try to enter through this ring, it's going to spit me out in this direction. So no matter which direction in this side that I enter from, I'm always going to face the same direction outside of this ring, because the settings that I edited in this ring here only exist for that ring. So each ring setting is independent to that ring. So if I set that back on, you'll see that no matter which direction I enter this ring down here from, it will always spit me out in the same direction of the other ring. See, now it spits me out that way. And same thing, if I enter through this direction, it'll spit me out that way, no matter what. But if I went down here and changed it in this ring, for rotate actor, now it will basically do the opposite of what I did earlier, where the ring up here will always spit me out in the same direction, but the ring down here will not. So no matter which direction I enter this ring from, it'll always spit me out in the same direction up here, but not vice versa. It will just simply spit me out in whatever direction I entered from. It's a little complicated to explain.
In a way, like, it is a way, because, like, when you think about it, if you code it correctly, which we mostly have, and we know how to make it the way we really want it to in the future, it's going to be kind of intuitive, because when you think about it, you kind of know how it should work.
Yeah, they're portals.
Yeah. Of course, these are not the same as, like, portals from Portal. Like, they're not one way, because you can enter from both sides. But even then, it's like, you kind of know how they should work in theory if you played Portal and know how portals and fiction work.
Yeah, the only difference between these warp rings and portals from Portal are the fact that you can't enter portals from Portal in two different directions. Like, that's the only difference. Outside of that, they function entirely the same way. They simply move your actor, they save your velocity, they move your actor, and then they shoot you out at the velocity that you entered from.
It would be so cool if you could make... Okay, this is a little tangent, but Reese, you know who's that white echidna from Archie?
Oh, Finitivus, Dr. Finitivus.
Yeah, it would be cool if we, like, now you're making me want to make a character like him, except that you can place the portal, you can make these portals but freely wherever you want. Like, you can place on a wall.
You make a Sonic game, but just make a Portal at the same time. It's like that game that you're playing where it's like Halo, but Portal.
It's like, I've mentioned this to you before, Reese, but if I mentioned it before that if I were to ever make a 2D fan game, I would want to make it a Sonic Portal crossover.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning it.
Like, give Sonic a portal gun in a 2D setting and make a momentum-based puzzle platformer with a lot of speed involved.
Yeah.
That's what I would want to do. If I ever make a 2D Sonic fan game, that's what I would do. But,
Don't give Bane any ideas.
Oh, I mentioned it to Bane, too.
Oh, no.
Bane already knows.
Bane was like, yeah.
That's exactly what Bane said. He's like, yeah, that's cool. But, I love these warp rings. These are pretty cool. The effect that we had to get to do with this warp ring over here, the one that launches you up into the air.
Yeah.
You have to turn this boolean on if you want a ring to launch Sonic in any direction that isn't, like, you know, perpendicular with what he came in from, or parallel with what he came in from. You have to turn this one here, this boolean on. Essentially, this will force the ring. This will tell the ring to force the player actor to be in a falling state. That way, they'll properly retain their momentum in midair and stuff like that. We couldn't get it to work without doing this. I mean, we could kind of, but it was a lot more jank.
It was very jank. It has to. If we were to get technical, the reason why it happens is because
The character
Sonic.
code.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Actually, the characters are constantly in what's called like a flying state when they're running around, and they're just being snapped to the ground constantly. But when they're not on the ground, they're in a falling state, and they fall, which is actually which is pseudo more normal actually. The thing is that like when you go from like when the rings like teleport you, like and if you get teleported from like a flying snapping to the ground state to a falling state, like it takes the game a second to realize you're not like on the ground, and then during that period of time it kind of gets janky and like doesn't know what to do with you.
So if I try to launch myself up here through this ring, I turned the send flying variable off. It kind of just drops me because for a split second, it still thinks I'm on the ground, so it tracks anything that I have on the ground. Like it tracks below Sonic for anything to stand on, and it technically sees the ring. It's like, oh, this is an object. I'm going to.
It's
fall.
actually not the ring.
Is it not?
It's actually what it's doing. I think is that it's for a split second. What happens is that it thinks that you're still flying, kind of, but it also doesn't recognize that you're touching anything else. So it snaps you back to where you were, kind of, or at least it tries to, even though you're somewhere else completely. So it just kind of stops you because it's really confused. Because remember, we turn off the ring collision. That's not exactly the issue, I think.
No, the rings have collision.
No, we turned it off and it still didn't work.
Oh, well, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but it doesn't really matter. The point is, if you want Sonic to leave the ground when leaving these rings, turn that boolean on for the exiting ring, or else you're going to run into Dunkin' Don't delivery problems.
Yeah.
Going from a falling state to a running state does seem an issue because you just kind of get launched onto the ground. So it's not really a big issue.
No, he lands. Like, Sonic technically lands like he would anything else.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he lands, so it's not like that's normal.
Yeah.
It doesn't snap you to the ground. Yeah.
But, these warp rings have become my new favorite item. I'm sorry, cannons, but the warp rings are my new favorite item.
New friendship with rings.
Friendship ended with cannon. New best friend warp rings.
And
The Fizz. Oh, damn it! You beat me! Oh, you beat me to it.
What do you say?
You said that's canon, and I was about to say that. Yeah, that's true. Anyway, I'll go cry for a bit. Anyway, something just a little tangent. Also, something I noticed that the rolling state is much better at conserving momentum from a running state to a falling state, and I think that has to do with the projected forward vector stuff. Like, it's much smoother than like what you get from like the character snapping combined with like normal movement. So that's part of the reason why it's originally the only way to like go smoothly out of a ring was to roll, because Sonic's rolling state is actually smoother than normal walking in a sense, in some instances.
Yeah, just due to how the rolling works, because the rolling code is independent from the camera, so it doesn't actually care what direction the camera is facing. And due to how the rings work, the camera technically has to move over to Sonic. One thing we got to do with the camera, I think, is we have to tell the camera to also teleport to the location of Sonic's camera, because for a split second... No, because remember, it's the external camera actor.
Oh.
That external camera actor is being told, hey, always move to the location of Sonic's camera. But whenever I created this, I kind of forgot to teleport the camera with Sonic, so the camera has to travel to Sonic's location.
Oh, actually, no, it doesn't do that, technically. The BP camera, it's just told to stay near Sonic, not his camera.
It tracks Sonic. The camera is completely detached from it, like the
I
camera.
thought we was constantly telling it to attach it to the camera.
No, that was probably something we did like long ago when we were first implementing it. It doesn't do that anymore.
Alright, well, thanks for telling me.
Well, I didn't know that was a misconception, but glad we cleared that up.
But, Yeah, there's still some jitteriness going on. Like, if you look at it for a split second, you can see there's some jitteriness with the camera, trying to get things figured out. But that's one of the reasons why rolling into a ring feels a lot smoother, is because your movement is independent from the camera.
Yeah.
And because the camera kind of freaks the fuck out for a split second whenever you walk through a warp ring. Whee! These things retain a lot of, like, basically all of your momentum.
Yeah, I imagine so.
I love these warp rings. They're so fun. Whenever I'm bored, I just come up. Whenever I'm, like, working on shit and I get bored, I'm just like, all right, time to play with the warp rings.
I feel like that's a good sign. If you make a level object and it's fun to use and play around, it means that you probably have good game mechanics and also good level objects.
I didn't think that through.
Oof. Now we need to find a way to... Oh, I see what you did now. We just have to figure out better ways to combine these objects so that they're even funner to use synergistically.
That was not the wrong button. But yeah.
This is the wrong room.
So yeah, that's the warp rings. I love the warp rings.
Thank you, Sonic movie.
It's kind of funny because the concept of warp rings has always been there, but we've just never thought about it, just turning it into a portal stuff until we saw the movie.
Yeah. I'm sure someone had the idea.
Oh, no, yeah, definitely people had the idea. Because, I mean, it's like that technically in the Archie comics, so people would have... It has happened before.
The concept of a warp ring has existed since Sonic 1. So, the idea you enter a ring and get transported to a new location.
I think it was specifically in the Archie comics that the idea of a warp ring, like, not transfer you to, like, a new dimension or a completely different space, but just, like, moving you slightly. I think that's where it was
acting as a, for lack of a better term, but acting as a wormhole.
I mean, you could go to a different dimension, I believe. I can't remember, but
yeah, but it's like I think only in Archie is it shown to, like, just like, I think Vanitas, whatever space is, used it to just, like, kind of move you around.
Ventivius? I don't know his name. Venitivus.
Also, kind of like the Topaz, whatever
Warp
space.
Topaz.
Warp Topaz was also used for that, for just, like, slightly moving Sonic.
I mean, Starline is meant to be a replacement for Finitivus.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the idea.
Well, yeah, they pretty much do the same thing. Just obviously not a full-on replacement. He's his own character.
Oh.
Cool.
So yeah, that's pretty much all we've worked on. That's like an hour and a half's worth of things to talk about. So to quick fire the things we discussed. Blue Cube works a lot better than he did in the Sonic Colors or 3 and Knuckles update that we released. He functions significantly better. Jade Ghost now has a new mode. He still has the old mode though, so you can still transform into Invisible Sonic rather than Ghost Mode Sonic if you so desire. We changed how Crimson Eagle's movement mode functions. You can now guide him with the camera rather than having to pitch him up and down. But his pitching up and down still functions in 2D. There have been some adjustments to materials such as like Asteroid and Ivory Lightning. Materials have been reworked for Black Bomb. Eagle also got like a new trail particle. It's pretty neat. We had to make slight changes to the homing attack to allow it to track enemies through walls if you tell it to. Create a new homing attack actor that allows you to spawn in dynamically from another actor at any location you want, allowing you to essentially add a home attack component to any actor that you want. The splines now have a better tracking system that moves you along them much easier, much more smoother, and it's a little bit more efficient in terms of, like, you know, what's the word I'm looking for?
It's less jank.
Yeah, it's less jank. Is it more computationally efficient as well?
I want to say that it just is less jank because it moves Sonic in a different way than before, which is much smoother.
I
wouldn't say it's more efficient in terms of code. I have to check that.
The pulleys also work a little bit better now. Or not the pulley, the zip line. Whenever you use the zip line, it actually properly rotates Sonic and the zip line handle along the spline.
Oh yeah, it did help with that too. I forgot.
So that works a lot better. There's something else.
Crimson Eagle.
I already mentioned Crimson Eagle.
Oh, okay.
We went over, obviously the warp rings.
Rail boosters.
Rail boosters, that was the other thing. Rail boosters have been added and are super neat in how they function and can be utilized. So yeah, a lot of stuff was actually done. Despite the fact that I've not worked on the project in the past 5 days, there's been a lot of stuff done.
Yeah, same here. I haven't worked on it for a bit. Did most of the work last week.
Yeah.
Or the first week.
Let's see here. Was there anything else that we are missing? I don't think there is, as I'm looking through the push log.
No, there is a minor thing as well. Wisp music loops perfectly now.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that was there last time. It might not have been.
Lisps.
But all Wisp music for the ones that do loops perfectly now.
Except Jade Ghost.
Yeah, Jade Ghost I haven't done yet, but it's because I just added the song. But yeah, so that's done.
So if I went burst, we listen to the music for a second, it'll just perfectly loop. Yeah, it used to have like a shortcut, like you could hear it disappear for like a split second and then loop again, but the music has been cut to properly loop.
Took me a little while because I'm not the best at music design stuff and all that, but I think I did a pretty good job.
Oh, that was the other thing. Ivory Lightning and Pink Spike can now home attack enemies properly, so that's nice.
Yeah, that.
I guess the next thing we can talk about are the poll results for the rebrand.
Oh man,
so far.
Yep. The poll that I have posted is still active. It will be active until this Thursday, in which case I will set up a new poll to post, and the new poll will have narrowed down options. But let's see. Oh, excuse me. No, that's a little too big. I've taken a snapshot of it, so let's just use the snapshot. Here are the current poll results so far. That's good. Trying to see what's in the lead. Yeah, we still got a few days, so obviously these results can change. If you want the results to change, or if you want
vote.
Either vote or get other people to vote. We've had 72 responses so far, which is great.
Sorry to get political, guys, but you gotta vote.
Your vote does matter, unless it's something stupid like
Numworks.
Numworks.
Oh, no.
This is something stupid like a peel out, and then I'm gonna veto it. No.
Guys, vote for peel out. I swear to God.
The one that I like the most is in the lead, so I'm happy. I have not voted though because I don't feel like I should.
I'm gonna throw some tea in the harbor if that one wins. I mean, I hope it does well, please.
Everyone's vote matters unless everyone votes for velocity, in which case I'm gonna veto it because I hate that now.
I guess we should probably preface that just because one is more popular than others doesn't mean we're just going to that doesn't automatically mean we're going to choose it. Like we're still going to have final say over which one we want to put in. We're just trying to figure out what other people want too. It's something to consider.
Yeah, it's more so. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying we're doing multiple of these polls. There's going to be another one later on that's narrowed down.
Yeah, if I had to guess, depending on how much the second poll gets narrowed down, we'll probably do a third poll. I don't think we'll be doing a fourth one, but the second poll we're going to be doing next week. Actually voted for Tornado. The second poll we'll be doing next week will have 2 questions. It will have Actually, it's going to have 3 questions as well. The currently existing poll has 3 questions. It has the multiple choice, choose which one you want. Is there a variation you prefer? And any suggestions you want. The second one is going to have choose which one you like, but it's not going to be multiple choice. This poll was multiple choice. The next one is not going to be multiple choice. It's also going to have another one. It's going to have a second question that will be multiple choice, but the second question will have name ideas that were presented in the first poll under the suggest your own name idea. And there's also going to be a third one that says like it's not going to be multiple choice. It's going to be the same question as the second one, but more narrowed down. Like, are there any variations of the names presented here that you prefer? It's going to have like, because some people like Velocity, other people like Velocity Plus, some people like Velocity Framework or Project Velocity. There's going to be those options. Like, hey, do you prefer any of these variations, or would you prefer none of the above, and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, some people like Vector, some people like Vector, some people like, oh yeah, you know, they're all the same thing.
All vectors are equal. But as you can clearly see, people don't have taste and are selecting Velocity.
Sorry, Reese, we have to bully you.
Yeah, I'm gonna just cry, I guess. I don't know.
Velocity is in the lead, has a clear lead, which is good. We actually all like Velocity. That's one of the early names we came up with. Just to discuss and talk about this a little bit more, since we have a bunch of these names out in the open now. Back when we first originally discussed rebranding, our original ideas were actually the Hedgehog framework. No, it was a Blueprint framework or Visions. Blueprint and Visions were actually our 2 original ideas. It's like the Blueprint framework because it's a framework that primarily functions in blueprinting. But there's also Visions, which was the idea was the framework is flexible and wide enough to fit any vision you may have for it.
Even Sakura's.
Yes. Those were our 2 original ideas. I don't remember where Velocity came in. I think Velocity might have been the 3rd idea that we eventually came up with.
It was
me.
Yeah, it was Reese.
I was just looking at like Theosaurus for the different word of speed.
we were like, Velocity sounds really good. And we kind of just, a lot of us gravitated toward Velocity. I'm like, we all really like Velocity, but there's also a whole bunch of other names.
Yeah, I found
to hear what other people wanted to see.
I found my new favorite one. Well, I already liked Fusion, so I'm not going to count that one. I just do like Fusion framework. But also, I like Peel Out. I don't know why, but when I saw it, it's like, man, that actually sounds cool because Project Peel Out or Peel Out Project. Mm-hmm. To me, that would be nice and cool. That's one of my favorites now.
So, we got Velocity in first with 27 votes. We got Hedgehog Blueprint and 22 votes. In the future, Blueprint and Hedgehog Blueprint are kind of just... Or no, I'm sorry. Boost Framework and Boost Work should kind of just be combined into one, more than likely. I don't know if Boost Framework is high enough to be considered to be included in the second vote, but we'll see. We got Visions and Blueprint, both with 9 votes. Project Eternal with 15 votes. Boost. Spin with 4. Boost with 12. Boost Framework with 12, Boost Works with 11, Architect with 6, Shuttle Loop or Project Shuttle Loop with 7, Project Corkscrew, which I am gradually more and more hating. Every time I say Project Corkscrew, I just hate it more and more. I think about it and I'm like, ugh, no.
Sorry, guys.
Project Corkscrew has 11, Fusion Framework has 15, Quill Power with 13, Neumworks with 5, which is 5 more than I thought it would get. I included this as a joke. I came up with Neumworks. That was my idea, and I'm like, this is a stupid name, but I love it. So I'm going to include it as a joke, but I don't expect anyone to vote for it because it's a stupid name, but people are voting for it, and I love that fact. There's Needle Mouse, which is actually Tiger Sonalex's suggestion.
At 15.
Tiger really wants that one to win. Tiger also wants Hedgehog to win, if I remember right.
We should have put Tiger in. That would be funny.
Tornado Framework with 9, Peel Out with 9, Metal Framework with 2. It took forever for Metal to get anything. Adrenaline with 12, Rainbow with 11, Rush with 9, and Chaos Framework with 17. Here. My thing is that, like, if you're gonna have Tornado or Peel Out as a name, you're sure to get those things in the game. Maybe. We're not really looking for the name to be something that exists in the framework.
He does have a point, though.
Like, yeah, I get it. I understand what you're trying to get at on paper, but I'm also just like, it just... That to me, that kind of sounds like oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Superfluous. I don't know how to say the word.
Superfluous detail.
Yeah, superfluous detail. It kind of just seems like nitpicky at that point, in my opinion. But you know,
I don't know, man. If we have Tornado Framework, we don't have a shitty ass like Tornado part where you chase down the egg carrier. Then
No.
Technically, we have Metal Sonic, so
yeah,
Metal can work.
It would be the mech remember manual.
The mech.
Oh yeah. Okay, I want Tornado to win now.
I am going to remove Tornado, although yeah, Tornado's probably going to get removed from the list anyway. It hasn't had enough votes to make it to the second list.
Dang it.
If I had to guess, based on this, I think 12 votes is the cutoff here. That's kind of like the halfway point here. So Boost Works and Adrenaline are just barely going to make it. Anything above those are going to make it. Anything below them are going to get chopped, unfortunately. Adrenaline has 12, Boostworks has 12, and everything else is above that, so most of everything else is just going to get cut off, more than likely.
Time to make some alternative accounts.
Well, Velocity...
How come Pila has 15,000 now?
You fool. I have 70 alternative accounts.
You're talking about Eggfucker 1, Eggfucker 2, Eggfucker 3.
How did you know my name?
So yeah, Velocity is our personal favorite. If I had to choose a second favorite, it would be Fusion. Originally, I wasn't going to include Fusion because someone said like Sonic Fusion, and I'm like, no, we can't do Sonic Fusion. That's a fan game. But then I'm like, what if I cut off the name Sonic and disguise it as my own?
Delightfully devilish Fizz.
Delightfully devilish Fizz.
That's basically my logic of it, because I really like the idea. I'm also super biased, so if Fusion doesn't win, then I'm going to be sad, but it's going to be understandable. But the Fusion framework was included. That's my second favorite one. If Velocity didn't win, I kind of hope Fusion wins. But that kind of just depends on what people really, really want. But
here's the thing, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, if we add in Fusion, like if Fusion does win, we have to add in a fucking nuclear reactor to the game. I'm not sure how to code that.
How do we code for a nuclear reactor?
I'm going to have to do some serious GitHub searching for that.
Just put Sonic in a perpetual motion machine.
But that won't have fusion. Like, we need the splitting of atoms going on.
One thing I remember someone mentioning, like, I remember someone in the Discord mentioning, like, oh, it should just be Boost Framework. Just make it Boost Framework because this has the boost in it, and the boost is a core mechanic. Completely ignoring the fact that the boost is an optional mechanic and not a core mechanic. And I'm also just like, if we're going to name it off as something that exists in the framework, then why don't we call it Big the Cat Framework? Big the Cat exists in it, so that's a valid name. Let's just call it Big the Cat Framework.
Let's call it Pixel Framework because there's pixels in the game.
There's pixels. Let's call it Stomp.
Mesh Framework.
Mesh Framework.
Character snapping framework.
Yeah, like oof, is that on here? You just
Spline framework.
Spline.
Unreal Editor 4 framework.
No, I know what we should call it. We should just call it S.
S. Let's call it the Speed Shift framework.
Speed Shift. It's kind of funny, like how Speed Shift was like a mechanic, and they were like, "Wait a second, this is a tool."
Yeah, that was my fault.
I just think it's cool, like how we figured out how to actually use it, and like now it's like we can't. The game doesn't work without it now. I think it's cool.
Pretty much. Big, large framework.
No, you see, that's what we're gonna call the deluxe version, where you get all the extra stuff in it.
You have to pay for that, though. Obviously.
Wow. Of course, you would say that.
I land my penis in the car door framework.
I slammed my penis in the car door.
You stabbed your Plymouth in the car door.
Oh. Okay, but speed shift framework kind of ball.
Okay, speed shift does actually, yeah. Now I think about it.
Shut up. Stop talking.
Wow. Like, that just immediate snap, like, no.
Stop.
No. Gets the gun. No.
Jane End is like, speed shift's pretty cool. I'm like, yeah, speed shift is cool. I mean, I was like, hey, speed shift's cool. Shut up, Emmanuel.
Shut up, Tails!
Shut
As
up,
soon as
Tails.
Emmanuel's like, wait, it does sound pretty cool. It's like, as soon as he starts to get an idea in his mind, you're just like, no.
No.
Never mind, speed shift framework's no longer cool anymore. Emmanuel.
Oh, we have to
cool.
ban the J Ninja 2 for saying that now. Sorry, bro.
No, it's only cool because you thought it was cool. It's no longer not cool because you thought it was cool.
Damn
What the
it.
fuck? My brain can't compute what you just
You know,
I don't know what I said either.
You know, Velocity Framework's pretty cool.
Ah, you're right. I guess we'll just have to go with Fusion.
Fusion.
You guys are flat.
Start saying all of them except for Peel Out.
All but
Yes.
peel. Man, peel out framework. Man, that sure does suck. Well, I guess we'll go with it.
My brain has stopped functioning. Only Genshin Impact exists.
Dash ramp, that'd be a cool, like the dash ramp framework.
Dash Ramp sounds neat.
That's a pretty dashing
What
name.
about the Red Ring framework?
Red Ring. Dash Ramp, like, essentially it's just Dash framework, but like with ramp added on though.
Yeah, no, that would not be okay.
Why don't we just call it, I don't know, like Bumper Engine? There's not a bumper. Wait a second.
There's bumpers in it. No, let's call it
One of the first things I added to the framework on my personal build before Infinity Plus.
It's called the Spring framework. It's totally not bumpers. They totally don't launch you when you overlap with them. They're not bumpers. Totally different thing. It's the Spring framework.
Guys, I got one that's totally hilarious, and the kids will love it. The Balded McNose Hair framework.
Oh, that's it. We found it.
Yeah.
We found it, guys. All right. No need to continue. We got this.
Let's call it
Ladies and gentlemen.
the
Found it.
let's call it the copyright law framework.
Yeah.
No copyright law in the universe is gonna stop me. The YouTube
Sonic?
video goes down.
Cease and desist.
Cease and desist. Oh. Well,
Oh.
okay then. I've been
What is
beaten by a
this?
rug.
I can't pay for it because there's no money in this universe.
Currency doesn't exist in our society.
So what you gonna do, motherfucker?
Gets the gun.
Alright,
Whoa.
so yep, we're gonna have another poll go up. Probably it might be Wednesday. I might cut it off a day early just so that we have extra time. Because the votes have already kind of slowed down a little bit. Although 72 votes in the span of 4 days or so. That's really not bad.
Yeah, it's done well. It's done
Yeah.
very well.
Guys, vote for Peel Out, please.
No.
Please. I beg you.
No.
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 Video of the guy walking on screen. No. No.
How about no?
Hello.
So yeah, if you guys want a specific response or whatever, no copyright law in the.
Video.
Oh no, he died. Just
Um,
Hello framework.
Hello framework. The funny thing is as well, like, you know how we've had the whole gimmick of having like nicknames to each update, like the subtitles and stuff. We haven't thought of one yet because it won't have that. It's just gonna be like the new framework name. It's gonna be weird.
Essentially.
I used
Well-
to have, like, making up the names and stuff. Was always neat, like the Forge and then freeing Knuckles because it was the third update and we added Knuckles because it was just freaking perfect.
Colorful
And then-
combat.
Yeah, Colorful Combat. I did like Colorful Combat's name. I always liked that name.
There's
Lame
only-
work. Bond framework.
Like, dude, we have to
What?
add that in.
I'm totally calling him lame work.
What about the Infinity Bad Work?
Infinity bad work. Oh, I know. We'll just call it Infinity minus. There we go.
Yeah, there
Perfect,
we go.
Dan.
Wait a minute. That was mine. Alright, it's suing time.
Emmanuel, did you see the suggestion I put in Voice chat.
Let me see.
Don't say it, but
Ha!
that would unironically be a really fucking cool name, though.
Yeah,
It would be, but obviously,
It's-
it's.
I feel like certain companies going to kill us.
company.
I don't think they would get us. I don't think they go after us for that.
Yeah, probably not.
I don't think they're a company, Emmanuel.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, there are.
Are they? I thought it was
Yes.
someone.
Jesus Christ.
I'm confused.
Aim work, more like aim don't work.
Ain't work. More like
If
fuck you.
what like if the name wasn't getting changed, as like just a hypothetical question for you guys, what do you think we would have named this update if there was no name change happening?
That
Yeah,
would,
oh my fucking god! Stop asking for shit up.
oh my fucking
all
god.
the stuff now. Leave us alone.
Oh, I know. It'd be Infinity Plus not getting an Android port update.
Wow. I mean, like, you know, I'm just trying to make a serious question here, so you know.
Just stop talking about Among Us updates.
Stop talking about Among Us.
No.
Tired
Stop
of seeing it.
talking about the Wisps update. I'm tired
Tired
of
of
seeing
seeing them.
my friends on Discord send me burst.
Wait, hold on.
First.
3. Damn, we can't call it the 06 update because we're one update behind. Shit.
Damn it. All right, Fizz, we
Sonic
need to
Prime
make a
2
second update.
Echoes.
Do.
All
Alright, in all
Fizz, we need to
seriousness,
make another update afterwards and call it the 06 update. All right.
yeah.
Infinity
all
Plus
seriousness-
06, the best Infinity Plus.
The
We went
best.
back. We went back to Infinity's roots, and we think
Yeah.
everyone will like it. It's a reboot.
We literally just put it all the way back to the first release.
Go back. Oh, what's in the Infinity?
We just released Vanilla Infinity, but make it a million times worse. Like nothing fucking works. It doesn't function. The frame rate is shit.
And we had Big the Cat.
We just throw Elise in there for no reason.
But what were you about to say, Emmanuel? Because you're like, in all seriousness.
In all seriousness, I guess maybe like it would be because we don't have any particular thing in mind, other than like trying to update the level objects, optimizing things, and of course adding Whisper, Silver, and updating all the characters.
It's kind of an all-around update, this one, because like last update was a focus, like we had like an idea and a focus on what to add. This update, it's more just like going over smaller details that we've missed and just fixing stuff that's been needing attention for a while.
Sharonelli will go over everything we discussed in this update in a little bit.
What about the Mr. Tinker update?
Well, if you want my answer, Reese, it really depends on what. Like, it depends on what'll we end up getting done before we plan on releasing the update. Because, like I said multiple times before, depending on what we get done, this might be the 1.0 update.
Yeah.
Just depending on where it is. And if it did end up being the 1.0 update, I would have just called it Infinity Plus 1.0. It's what the base idea of what the framework is supposed to be. That's what the name would have been of the update if it just ends up being the 1.0 update. But considering if it weren't the 1.0 update, I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you.
I think advanced. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say something like advanced visions, like something that takes something from like an old Sonic game title, but like kind of updates it to like what we're trying to do. Like advanced visions mean like we kind of advanced our vision further by updating things, but nothing particularly.
It's just because funny because like kind of like a development thing. It's we had the idea of the name for the like colorful combat like since the very beginning of it.
Yeah, that's what it was. Because like we were like we want to work on wisps and we want to work on a combat system. So colorful combat was kind of just the theme of that entire update. So it kind of just worked as a name. We didn't come up with the name 3 Knuckles until I think it was like a month. It's like a month or two before we actually released the update. And we're like, oh, let's just call it the 3 Knuckles update. It's our third update, and we're including Knuckles. So
perfect meme material.
Generate.
I know what we would have called this update. Big Chungus update.
It's Big Chungus.
Oh
update.
shit! I spoiled it. Damn it! Everyone now knows.
Ah, shit.
You're just gonna add Big Chungus.
No, Sonic becomes Big Chungus. Sonic has been deleted.
You press, you type, you do a cheat code in the game, right? And it's like, the Konami code essentially, and then you get Big Chungus unlocked as a skin for Sonic.
Throw a Greek later, like Alpha or something. Okay, Reese, actually do
Alpha.
have a proper answer for your question, but I'll have to put it in chat, and I'm not going to say it here, because if I do, it'll spoil things.
Oh, God.
So I'm going to put it in chat real quick. Actually, I'll just send it to you. Because... Here.
Fuck me, I guess.
I could set it in voice chat, I guess. No one's really going to... Out of context, no one's going to get it.
Well, no, they're all gonna get that.
There we go. That's probably what I would have called it.
Oh my god, yes.
That makes sense. Wait, no!
If this didn't turn out, if this update didn't turn out to be the 1.0 update, and we weren't planning on rebranding Infinity Plus, that's what I would have called the update.
Oh god, it's too much. Please, wait. No!
Is it generating content with the project? Maybe.
What about the generator Rex Oh, wait a second.
If that's an idea that you wanted to include, then you need to put it in the poll.
If you're already voting a poll, just make an alternative account. We won't catch you. Wait, don't do that, actually.
I don't know why I went JFK mode there, but I did.
What?
The JFK update.
If you wanted to include that name, you should have done it in the polls.
Always
Nothing bad ever happens to Infinity Plus.
2 minutes.
4.26.
Generations generate generates.
Generate race.
I think that last one is Gene Race, but
Ben 10 update. Wait a second. Damn it.
What?
Okay, that's actually...
Jay, how about some like Velocity Alpha?
Holy shit, that actually does sound cool.
Or Alpha Velocity or something like that. Velocity Alpha does sound really cool. Fuck.
I don't
Holy
know.
Shit.
Like, it reminds me of like you ever seen Dragon Ball Z Abridged? But at some point they were like, "Oh my god, that sounds so fucking cool."
It sounds way too serious. It does sound serious, but I don't care. It sounds fucking cool.
Okay, you can. I feel like if something's edgy, if it's cool enough, it can get away with it. Like, come on.
Like Shadow is edgy, but he's also cool. Like he's just a neat character, but he's also fucking edgy. I'm talking about the best of Shadow, not his current state.
Oh, you mean like you mean in Shadow the Hedgehog where he said like taking candy from a baby and then he punched the baby in the face? That was cool.
That was cool. Totally not edgy.
Yeah.
As I pull out a fucking assault rifle.
No, he pulls out
a pump action
SMG.
He pulls out a pump action assault rifle.
Dude, next he gets a lever action revolver.
Which apparently a pump action assault rifle actually exists now.
What?
Yes, that actually exists.
I don't
Someone
believe
made
you.
a pump action assault rifle.
Oh, action.
Similar to the one that Shadow uses in that intro. Like that gun actually exists now.
Made by the Kalashnikov. The same people made the AK-47s. What? It's a Kalashnikov.
A pump action assault rifle.
Oh, it's made for the Russian national rifle team.
Sanic. Almost sounds like a eunuch, which is, yeah. I don't think that's the vibe we're going for. Okay, Emmanuel.
Huh?
How about Alpha Fusion or Fusion Alpha?
That could work. The reason like alpha kind of works is that alpha particles, beta particles, gamma particles are important when it comes to nuclear reactions.
Okay, and what does alpha correlate with vectors then?
Oh, nothing.
Velocity. Yeah, so how does it work?
Cool.
How does it work with velocity? Yeah, it just sounds cool with fusion too.
God, stop thinking about it. It's been cool.
It doesn't have to be atomic science.
I don't know, man. Atomic Sonic is pretty cool. Well, actually, it's pretty hot. Like, really hot, actually.
Like, oh god, I'm burning alive hot.
Yeah. That's beside the point.
So real quick, sure, Nooney, since you was talking or asking earlier, everything we went over, just to go give a quick rundown. We created a generic home attack actor that Sonic can home attack onto, or track and home attack onto. There it is.
I think he meant like update in general, like everything we've done since the last update.
That's a lot. That'd take way too long to go over. But Chernobyl didn't join until just recently, so they missed most of everything we talked about.
True.
So we have the generic home attack actor, which you can use to basically spawn in from other actors. So, for example, the pulley here and the zipline, both of these spawn this actor in at a specific location, allowing Sonic to home attack them, because Sonic has a flaw where he can only home attack an actor's root component, which is that little sphere that you see. So if you give an actor a home attack tag that allows the home attack tracking code to look for it, whenever the home attack tracking code finds it, the location it outputs is the what's it called? Shit. The root component. Like, that's the location it spits out. So the idea is the generic home attack actor is something you can spawn in and attach to other actors, or spawn in from another actor at any location you want, so that way Sonic can home attack it. And whenever Sonic does home attack it, the trigger box is told to deactivate the home attack when Sonic overlaps with it. But due to that fact, the fact that it doesn't actually check to see if Sonic is home attacking it, what it does is the moment Sonic overlaps with the trigger, it will just deactivate Sonic's homing attack, so it can be used as a barrier to prevent Sonic from homing attacking something that you don't want to. It won't stop you from trying to track a target, but
I'm back.
What it can do is it can be like, oh, Sonic has overlapped with this volume, or like I'm a volume and Sonic has overlapped with me and he's doing a homing attack, I'm going to stop him from doing the homing attack. So it can act as a pseudo barrier as well, as a generic target. Another thing we did is the actual handle part of the zipline properly follows and rotates properly with the spline of the zipline now. So moving across the zipline actually looks mostly proper for the most part. We added an alternative version of Ghost, similar to that of Sonic Colors Ultimate, allowing you to fly around. Couldn't you spawn in another scene component and tag that to get around that? No, because you can't actually grab a component, is the thing. Whenever you look for any actor with a tag, it grabs that actor and just assumes it's component. You can't actually track the individual component of the actor. I tried looking into it and it doesn't actually work like that. I wish we could. I'm going to try and do a little bit more research on it and try and see what kind of changes can be made to it. But to my knowledge, the answer to that is technically no. Just due to how actors and components work as entities in Unreal and how they're treated and how they can be passed around and communicated with. So that was my original idea as well. Or I had an idea similar to that, but it didn't work. But to go back to what I was saying, Jade Ghost now has an alternative mode where you can transform into an actual Ghost Wisp similar to Sonic Colors Ultimate and fly around. That version of Jade Ghost can fly through any Jade Ghost block, but it can also fly through just any Wisp object period. So like the blue cubes, ring boxes, or like these eat objects, Jade Ghost can just pass right through them with no problem. Just as like added functionality, Jade Ghost can also home attack through walls. We don't have a way to actually display objects behind walls you can home attack onto, but eventually we'll get to that. Shouldn't be
can
too
do
difficult. Blue Cube has also been heavily improved. Blue Cube has significantly less bugs than he did in Colorful Combat. He doesn't have as... to my knowledge, he doesn't really have too many transformation bugs, like transforming back and forth from Sonic and stuff. He doesn't really have many bugs in terms of that. The camera properly tracks Blue Cube whenever you transform, so you don't drop and then the camera just fails to track him or whatever. He also doesn't try to push Sonic out of the way whenever he transforms anymore, and he also doesn't try to move around. Like if you transform while on the ground, he doesn't lift up and then slam. He kind of just hits the ground right there. Because doing that caused an issue where, like, if you did it in an enclosed area like this and you transform to the ground, Blue Cube would like slam upward and clip itself into the ceiling. So Blue Cube is significantly more functional now than he was in the Colorful Combat update. Last thing for the Wisps, did some particle work with Asteroid. Particle work with
Crimson Eagle.
Ivory Lightning, Crimson Eagle. You can't see it here, but in movement you can. He's got like little trails that follow his wings. The materials for Black Bomb has been worked on. And that's pretty much it. Ivory Lightning and Pink Spike can now home attack enemies properly. Originally they couldn't. There was a bug in Colorful Combat that prevented that, but now they can. The splines function a lot better. They track Sonic's location and move Sonic's location across the spline a lot easier now. Cart splines now have a cruise control mode where you can accelerate in them, but they'll also decelerate you down to a minimum speed. You can also set a mode where, like, you enter it, and whatever speed you had, when you enter it is the speed you'll retain all the way through it.
So if you just walk into it, you just walk the rest of the way?
Yeah, if you set the minimum speed low enough, yes. You have to set the speed high enough. Like, you can...
Let's get moving.
It does have a minimum speed, so like if you enter it below the minimum speed required, it'll boost you up to that minimum speed. But if you move higher than that minimum speed, then it will keep you at that speed that you entered. But it also now has an alternative mode that I'm dubbing Cruise Control, where it has a minimum speed it'll keep you at, but you're actually able to accelerate above that while being controlled by the cart. So if you hold forward or if you press the boost button, you can accelerate past your minimum speed. But if you stop boosting or if you stop accelerating, Sonic will slow back down, but he won't slow back down beyond that minimum speed. So,
yep.
Just some new modes. Because these have a lot better snapping and tracking of Sonic, you can attach them onto walls and use them to basically snap Sonic to a wall pretty easily without needing any form of transition. If you set it up properly, Sonic can overlap with the trigger and then just boop, he's snapped to the wall, and then you can get going, you know. Similar to like Sonic Unleashed or Sonic Generations.
Or 06, but we don't talk about that one.
The Rebrand booster. That's another thing we went over. The Rebrand boosters have been added, and they're really, really, really neat, but it would take a moment to go over, so I'm kind of just going to be like... They're super neat. They can be spawned in by like the grind rail itself, and they can move along the spline and shit like that based on a float, and you can even rotate them to change the direction they face and shit like that. Like, that's the super quick and dirty details. Then we also have the warp rings, which teleport Sonic like a portal in the hit game from Valve, Portal.
From the hit game from Valve, Half-Life.
Featuring Dante from Devil May Cry.
And Knuckles.
There's two different types. A couple things I didn't actually expand upon that I can do real quick because I kind of just forgot to do so. Splitgate time. Any two rings can be paired together, so if you pull out two rings, they're not just going to automatically be connected together. You actually have to manually pair them, which you can do so by selecting a ring, hitting linked actor, and selecting another warp ring. And these will only accept warp rings as the linked actor. So if I try and select something else, it's like incompatible with this. You have to select another warp ring. And then these two warp rings will now be paired. You can also force Sonic to rotate with the ring. So if you enter one side, the exit side will force rotation. But the setting must be set on the exit side. So any settings on the exit only applies to the exit. It does not also apply to the entrance, and vice versa. So if I enter through this one and I exited out of this one, then all the settings applied to this one will take into effect. But if I entered this one and exited that one, all of its settings will take into effect there. So it's a little bit more complicated to like say verbally, but whenever you look at it on paper and you actually test it out, it makes a lot more sense.
Oh my god, that's a lot.
But there's also one variable you have to select if you want to do something like this here, where you launch the character up into the air. Regardless of what angle it is, it doesn't matter if it's straight up or if it's at an arc or at an angle or downward or whatever. If you want to actually launch the actor, you have to hit send flying. So if you don't, Sonic will just kind of fall because it's trying to continue to snap you to whatever ground you had last, and it doesn't know to actually launch you into the air and put you into a falling state right away. So these warp rings are pretty neat.
Oof.
And then... Yeah, there we go. So that's kind of basically all we went over. That and the names. We went over the names and the current state of the poll. Wangs. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's everything we've gone over.
Yep. So it was a pretty decent dev stream.
Yep, we actually did quite a bit. I think here soon we might actually release an update. I might try and release a public demo probably by the end of the week or something.
Yeah.
So the demo will be public to the Discord. I'm not going to be posting it like on Twitter. I'm not going to be posting it on YouTube. I'm not going to be posting it on Game Jolt or anything. It'll be a Discord exclusive thing. So that will probably be like around the end of the week, depending on how things go. Hopefully, because I know I mentioned it last time, like, hey, we're probably going to do a demo here soon, and I think that we have enough, mechanically speaking, here to warrant doing a demo. And then from there we can like bug fix things, and we can add more stuff and release more demos in the future. Demos for Discord might be like a once a month thing, maybe twice a month, depending off if we have to like release a patch or something like that, or if we just get a whole lot done in just the span of like a week or two. So be on the lookout for that. But unless you guys have anything else, I think we're ready to get going.
Nope. That's it for me as well. Like, can't think of anything else to say.
Yeah. Yeah,
General model
Emmanuel's
stuff will be getting worked on.
Emmanuel's muted at the moment, so our next dev stream will be on the 4th of October.
October 4th.
The next dev stream, I am not going to be focusing on the dev stream at all, because that's the same week Metroid Dread comes out. Sure, do we? I generally suggest holding off points, spending points during dev streams, because these dev streams are kind of just dedicated to dev stuff, not like, funny haha redeem points and stuff. That's more so for my personal streams. This is more of a dev stream. I'll see if I can like refund you those points though. I don't want to just take those points from you. I'll have to figure out how to do that though. So yeah, it might take me a moment. But just for future reference, I try to avoid doing anything point related and stuff during dev streams. Our next dev stream will be on the 4th. This dev stream will be uploaded to YouTube on the 27th. hopefully we'll be a lot closer to being done. Just for future reference, I am going to be gone like the week of Thanksgiving, the last week of November. Because I'm visiting.
Yeah, Thanksgiving is a thing.
I'm gonna be visiting family, and then right after that is like, say what?
Flying out again?
Yeah, I'm gonna be flying out and visiting family like for Thanksgiving. So don't be expecting much of anything that week. I know that's like a month away, but we're almost done with September already. So yeah,
you're right.
That's getting 20th. Close.
Oh, Star Wars Vision comes out soon.
In 2 days, we get Star Wars Visions. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna be watching that. I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. Like, I'll enjoy it. I'm a Star Wars enjoyer, but that's
oh, you are, aren't you?
Yeah.
I guess the only like Star Wars media I haven't watched, well, two is Rebels and Bad Batch. I've started watching Bad Batch, but not all of it.
Yeah, I didn't really watch much of that, but
I watched all of Bad Batch. Bad Batch was really good. I don't care too much for.
It's not a DevStream discussion, really.
Yeah,
just a passive comment.
Yeah, but I think we're probably gonna call it good here, unless you have anything, Emmanuel.
Nah, not really. I was just saying that when I was muted, and then I realized I was muted.
But yeah, we'll be seeing everybody next time. I'll probably stream later on today. I don't know what I'm going to stream. I'll probably stream something. Maybe Bug Fables or something else. Yeah.
Metal Gear.
It's funny because when we say that joke, we legitimately can mean a game now.
Yeah, we can say Big's Big Adventure now. We can go play Big's Fishing Adventure, which I don't know if I'm ever going to play that again. Eventually I have to play it again, but I am dreading that day. But we will see everybody next time. Thank you for everyone who joined in, and we'll see you later.
All right, see you.